Hello everyone. Welcome to the
Hey
very
guys.
first of what me and my good friend Fred Corder are calling the new Talking Geek Weekly podcast of ours. And this is a
Welcome to
very
Talking Week Geekly, yeah.
the title is a very last minute idea that me and Fred came up with, and we just felt that in light of everything that's been going on with the quarantines, the lockdowns, we could do our part to help give people a little life and a little joy in their lives by talking all things connected with geek and pop culture on a weekly basis. And well, first I'll just basically introduce myself. I'm Wendell Ga'a. I'm I'm a working diplomat, but I'm also very much an active freelance online news writer, journalist, and I love to talk. I'm into sci-fi, I'm into fantasy, I love watching movies, so talking geek on a weekly basis is what I love to do. And Fred himself has quite a few things
I'm
to
Fred.
share. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I met Wendell because we met at a Comic-Con a couple years ago, and he actually did an article about my studio. I run Pockets Full of Pills Studio. We are an indie comic book company spanning between Washington, D.C. and Manila, Philippines. So I run the studio, and we've released 13 books, and we do Comic-Cons all across the world. And I've sort of been heavy in the geek culture. I now live in Manila, Philippines, to sort of better interact with the flourishing geek culture here in Manila. And so I guess the best way to sort of, encapsulate what I do is I'm a comic book writer. Noel?
Yes.
Yeah. Hi, guys. I'm Noel. I'm a professional actor here in the Philippines. And right now I run the Asian Action Actor YouTube channel where I create videos about pop culture, like movies, primarily about movies and video games.
Awesome.
Yes. So together, guys, we are Talking Week Geekly.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I like the title.
Okay, all right.
Yes.
Hey, it was literally last minute. This whole
it works.
But
yeah, because Noel and I we've been talking about doing a podcast for years, and I think last year, about maybe 6 months ago, before this whole COVID thing happened, I was telling him that I really wanted to get serious about the podcast.
Yes,
and then of course the world ended.
At least the world as we know it.
And you far away from your bunker, Fred.
Yeah,
bunker
very far. Very far. I'm digging the tunnel right now.
It's just so ironic that it took something like this for us to. I mean, it's so ironic that it took something like this for us to finally, take this whole thing seriously and to help put this thing, to fruition. Yeah. And but anyway, Noel, we are very.
Like I said before.
I mean, we're very honored to have you with us.
Well, like I said before, we don't have anything else to do, so.
Yeah. And I was talking to Wendell. Wendell was doing an article about like the sort of the geek industry, and he and I literally sat there and talked for like 3 hours. And I was like, you know what? We should probably do a podcast. It kind of came up, about like what are geeks doing, like what's going on in the industry, especially here in the Philippines. And I was like, you know what? We should do a podcast. And he was like, I was thinking about doing one as well. And I was like, you know what? Let's pull the trigger on this thing. And I was like, well, we got to bring in my buddy Noel, and let's just do it. So,
thanks. I appreciate that.
Yeah,
of course.
Yeah, we're honored to have you with us in our first podcast. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
So so I think an actor, a journalist, and a writer would make for electric, organic banter about the industry. It's coming 3 different unique, spectrums of the industry. So today we're going to be talking about today's show is going to be about, Wendell, tell us, what's today's title?
We're going to be talking about the global geek pop culture, how it's doing in both during this global COVID crisis, as well as how global geek culture, how we see it, how it's going to have a future in the post-COVID world. And there's a lot of things that that we would be interested to discuss and explore on this very important matter. And I mean, this is something that's been affecting each and every one of us. I mean, down to the point that the world as we knew it, which ended last March. I mean, before then we could attend comic conventions. We could go to we could go to movies, watching all these awesome MCU, Star Wars, superhero or what have you type of films.
Yeah, like,
But since COVID-19,
I think
we were unable to do that.
I think we should have we should have a memorandum for the world we've lost. You know,
The world we've lost.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because
It's your next comic book, Fred.
Yeah, the world we lost. Because think about it. As a geek, you know, I think we're all in like our at least over 30 club. So we're old enough. We don't have to give away our real ages. We don't know the audience well enough yet. But
I'm like 96.
Yeah, exactly. So we all remember when geek culture was sort of a bad word. It's like to say that you were a geek meant that you had sort of a cultural deficit. But now in the last maybe 10 years, you know, or even less, the last 5 years, being a geek means that you were on the precipice, on the cusp of what's hot and cool. I mean, literally every single movie that's making serious money is a geek movie. Okay.
And that's true.
And they're not, and they're not just movies anymore. They're cultural events, which ties into like Comic-Cons. Comic-Cons literally was a single event in San Diego. When you said I'm going to Comic-Con, you knew exactly what you were talking about. It's like there was one Comic-Con. So I think we should realize that we're sort of like the dinosaurs. It's like we were literally at the
Hey, we ain't extinct yet.
We're still alive, bro. We're still alive. What are you talking about?
The
Just going through that adventure. We're just going through that post-adventure.
They didn't go extinct like that.
Yeah. We're just all going through the whole era where, I mean, right after Thanos snapped his fingers with the Infinity Gauntlet, we're just going.
Oh yeah, it's our snapping.
Whatever it takes.
But
what do they call it? The decimation.
Yes, exactly.
The blip. Yeah.
Yes.
No, the dinosaurs didn't go extinct. They did not go extinct when the comic hit. When the comic hit the Earth, the dinosaurs didn't go extinct. They literally languished, you know, for a couple of decades, trying to figure out which one is going to survive. Like, who could adapt to sort of the new world of sports.
That is true. That is true.
You know? So, like, we
the birds, baby.
Mm-hmm.
We grew feathers.
It's like this is like the land of the lost. You know, you remember that cartoon, The Land of the Lost?
I remember that.
Was the Land of the Lost?
I vaguely remember it.
There was an 80s
vaguely.
I watched.
It rings a bell.
Yeah,
it rings a bell.
Maybe I'm a little older than y'all.
No, I definitely was around during then, but I just don't remember. I remember dinosaurs more, for whatever reason. Okay. Right, I remember that more. Land of the Lost, not so much.
The premise was just like these little baby dinosaurs, like their parents got killed because they were like too tall, and like they had to like figure out how to like survive. And I think that's really where that's a great metaphor for geek culture right now, because literally everything that we loved about geek culture, from Free Comic Book Day, from these big premieres, from the Comic-Cons to like the Netflix, like LARPing in person, like hometown events, like the cosplay, all of it had to do with people getting together in mass groups. Like literally the entire ecosystem of geek culture revolved around the premise of people are going to get together, talk, exchange money, exchange hugs, take selfies. It wasn't just like they were getting together. They were like getting together and like laughing together, hugging, touching, high-fiving. It was very much an intimate thing. And like, that's
exactly.
the antithesis.
It's like when you get to the nuts and bolts of it.
Now.
I mean, it's like when you get to the nuts and bolts of it, it's all about people showing up, showing their pride, showing their passion for the films and for the characters they love so much. And there's no other event which exemplifies such passion, such love for pop culture than these comic conventions. And I've been to 6 New York comic conventions myself, and I know how it is. I've never been to SDCC, but having been to
Oh, it's amazing.
NYCCs, like
It
I
was.
mentioned, it is astounding. And even though, and I've observed how the past few Asia PopCons I attend here in Manila have also considerably grown in stature
Mhm.
and prominence. And
Yeah.
I would arguably say the more so with ToyCon. I mean, I don't know which cons are you guys more a fan of, but I mean, I think ToyCon for me has grown a little bit more in terms of popularity and in terms of affluence among fans. I would say.
Well, I mean, ToyCon's been around for way longer. That's why.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Asia Pop is like brand new, so
it's only
those growing pains.
Like mid 2010s, huh?
Asia Pop was like the Spinosaurus. Like it came out of nowhere. It was awesome, and now it's gone.
This just in, Fred knows way too much about dinosaurs.
Hey man, I'm all in it. It's dinosaur time for me.
You would say ToyCon's T-Rex. I mean,
ToyCon's a T-Rex.
I mean, no matter how many times you try to kill them, they'll find a way to come back.
It's the pinnacle of dinosaur evolution.
Well, last they said on their Facebook, they were going to try to be open in December. We're going to try. We'll see.
Yeah,
we'll see how far that goes. But they're going to try to have the SMX thing in December. Yeah, that's what they said.
Yeah. Well, I heard. Yeah, I saw some.
We'll try to get some of the organizers from ToyCon on here. They're cool guys.
That would be great. That would be great.
Yeah, get them aboard. Yeah, I'd love that. I'd love to get their insights on how they're trying to cope and manage with the current circumstances. But yes, I mean, personally, I believe. Well, the fact that people are still clinging on to the hope and planning to have an event like ToyCon open, even at such delayed date, for me, reflects how, I mean, geek culture is still very much alive and and
I got this right here. Hold on, I just realized.
Which was that? Oh, okay.
Oh, 2017 right there.
What year is that?
Oh, 2017 right there.
Nate. Oh, there you go. I can see it now.
I saw it over my head, and I was like, I got to get it.
You lucky.
And it also proves I'm wearing pants. So.
Did you guys see that thing where like it was Christopher Reeve's kid, right?
What happened?
He's like a news journalist. He's like a news journalist, and like he had to do like a news segment from his home, and he had his camera set up wrong, and he didn't realize he was showing the world up to his knees, and he wasn't wearing pants.
Wait, was that Christopher Reeve's kid?
Yeah, that was Christopher Reeve's kid.
Oh my goodness. I didn't realize that.
I mean, he was in boxers, but like he thought he was like.
I know what you're talking about. I
didn't know that. It was like 2 weeks ago.
I know exactly, like ABC News, like local news, but like it made
something like that. Yeah.
How could I have not been aware of this?
I mean, you can still. It's an easy Google. Christopher Reeve's kid with no pants.
I gotta look that up later.
He's like wearing this suit. Looks exactly like Christopher Reeve with the hair. But he got no pants.
You just birthed a whole new like porn subset. Christopher Reeve's son no pants.
Oh my goodness.
Trending on Pornhub.
Streaming on Pornhub. I wouldn't be surprised. Deepfakes are scary, man.
So guys, how each of us, how has this affected you? We've all basically said how we are tied into the geek culture for like our livelihood. So like maybe we can go around and talk about like how this shutdown has affected us personally in our industry.
Well, I'll go first. I mean, personally, it really affected me pretty harshly to the point that I was in Ireland for my master's scholarship when the global lockdown began in mid-March.
Oh shit!
Yes.
How'd you get back?
Well, I had to
wait. Did you just get back recently, or?
I got back last April 17, and the lockdown began around March 15, March 16.
Yeah.
He said he was in Ireland. He clearly got back on the rainbow.
Oh shit! Yeah. Of course. Sparkles helped him out.
Yes.
Of course. Of course.
Sorry. Go ahead, Wendell. Go ahead.
The thing is, though, when the lockdown began, that happened right around midweek before the weekend before I had been scheduled to I had been scheduled to attend Dublin Comic-Con, and I was and whenever I go to these Comic Cons, I usually make it a thing to have photo ops or get autographs from celebrities there. And Peter Weller, aka RoboCop, was scheduled to be there, and I had hoped that I would still be able to get his autograph.
Dude, RoboCop is trending again. He's in Mortal Kombat. He's like fucking trending.
Holy shit! Yeah,
RoboCop,
he is.
RoboCop has pre-existing conditions clearly, so he definitely should stay in. Sorry. Go ahead. I mean, I was. Aside from the fact that, well, I guess it wasn't so much the fact that I didn't get to meet him that left me heartbroken. It was the fact that I kind of had a sense of foreboding that with this cancellation of Dublin Comic-Con, even though organizers had said that they would do everything that they can to reschedule to July, I was like thinking, oh shit, that's not gonna happen. I think this thing's going to linger around for a little bit. And but on the other hand, as a geek and as a nerd for anything sci-fi or fantasy, I still felt a measure of accomplishment in the fact that the weekend before I was able to go on a tour of Winterfell in Northern Ireland, where I got to I really got to meet the Northern Inuit dog who portrayed Grey Wind on Game of Thrones. And of course
nice.
Yes, so I went on an organized tour where they took us around different sites near in and around Belfast, where they shot noble scenes from the series. Such as the site from the very first episode where the Starks first discover the direwolf pups with their dead mother. And we got to of course. I
gotta say, Wendell, for all of our viewers, as a trend for these shows, it just has to be said that Wendell has achieved like geek bingo. As he continues to talk, he'll be like, "Oh yeah, I was on the set of da da da," or "I met like literally every single franchise." He has coveted photos. And like just I'm not going to say what else I know where he's been, but just he's got geek bingo. This guy has a full card. Okay.
Well, I mean,
so yeah.
Well, speaking of that, yes, you are correct, and the fact that I have so many, geek beam ups on my feathers on my geek cap, that
don't give it away. Don't give it away.
That made me.
We still got this is going to be a weekly show. Like,
yeah, I know. Okay, yeah. Okay, we did have a cute guide who was an extra as a walker and a wildling on the show, but I can get more into that later. I mean, she's really cute, really sweet, and wow. I mean, I could not have asked for a more ideal guide to tour us through Winterfell. But yeah, I mean, with everything that happened that mid-March with the lockdowns and all, I mean, that made me feel, really sad, but also really, thankful that I got to do a lot of things that I wanted to before the lockdown. It made me realize that, oh wow, I'm glad during my time in New York, I'm glad I got to go to these conventions to see what all the fuss was about. I mean, I got to among people I got to meet Carrie Fisher 2 months before she passed away.
Oh, wow!
Yes, I told you, geek bingo.
I have it on my Facebook to prove it.
You're giving it away, Fred.
He's giving it all away. He's looking at his card. He's like, Carrie Fisher, B6. Okay, yeah. So I think to tie into that, it's like, yeah, I think it's a time for sort of gratitude as before we move forward into like how we figure things out. It should be that's why I was talking about the whole dinosaur thing. There's a gratitude that I think every geek should have, because all the stuff that you've enjoyed for the last couple of years, there's no guarantee it's going to come back or come back in the way it did. So like, we just got to be like, man, remember that? Remember the time I went to San Diego Comic-Con? Remember I went to Asia Pop in Manila? Remember I went to, because like these are going to be generational pinnacles of geek culture. And I think that we're going to be coming back but it's going to be a different coming back. So it's like, yeah, these are going to be like historical moments in geek like culture. It's like, and I don't think it's come into focus yet. I think people are still disillusioned to think that things are going to just snap back the way they were, because you know, yeah, it's crazy. But before I go into that, Noel, do you want to jump in?
Yeah, sure. For me, it was a bad and good thing. I mean, I guess for all of us it is. But like for me, the bad first was before this whole Thanos thing happened. I was a main cast member and creative director of a specific theater production in Eastwood City here in Metro Manila.
Wow.
And that had to close down.
Give him a shout out. What was it called?
Oh, it was Tipsy Tales Lambana. Oh, Tipsy Tales was the name of the company and the theater, and Lambana was the name of the show we were doing. And it was a theater experience thing where you are part of the whole show, and it's extremely difficult to explain. And that was one of the troubles we had actually in our marketing, was to explain what this actually was. Because people, what is this, an amusement park or like a theater show? And it's literally somewhere in between. And
yeah,
and yeah, I mean, now I'm kind of realizing how difficult it is to explain. Fred's seen it. So thanks very much for seeing it.
I took my wife and I told her, I said, I think Noel's in a theater show. We're going to go see him in theater. And we literally got there and she almost had a panic attack because she was like, what the hell are we doing? Like, because it's like LARPing, but like you're involved in LARPing. Like you walk through the set and it's like you walk through it and there's committed actors that are like taking you through it's like walking into a storybook, like physically walking into a storybook.
The goal is to make you forget that you came from the real world and like you're trapped in this fantasy world for like, what was it, an hour 15, and it works. It was awesome. People who were like into that sort of thing would totally it was like, but it was like less than a year old, and that's why like it was still taking off. Then this whole thing happened.